Welcome back to the loft, my fellow pigeon enthusiasts. If you're watching this video right now, I know you share the same passion that keeps me awake at night, the same dream that gets me up before dawn to check on my birds. You understand that magical moment when you hear those first tiny peeps coming from a nest, knowing that all your careful planning, all your dedication, has resulted in new life. But what happens when that moment doesn't come? What happens when you find yourself staring at clear eggs, week after week, wondering what went wrong? Today we're going to talk about something that's close to every breeder's heart, the quality of our pigeons' eggs, and how we can naturally boost fertility and hatch rates using the wisdom of herbs and proper nutrition. I've been breeding racing pigeons for over 2 decades now, and I can tell you that nothing breaks a breeder's heart quite like poor egg quality. But here's the beautiful thing about what we're going to discuss today. Nature has provided us with incredible tools to help our birds reach their reproductive potential, and these methods have been trusted by generations of successful breeders around the world. Before we dive deep into these natural solutions, I want you to think about your own birds for a moment. Picture that favorite pair of yours, the ones with the bloodlines you've carefully selected, the ones you've pinned your hopes on for the next racing season. Now imagine watching those eggs develop perfectly, seeing strong, healthy chicks emerge, knowing that you've given them the absolute best start in life. That's what we're working toward together today, and I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll have a complete roadmap to make that vision a reality. But first, let's understand what's happening when egg quality isn't what it should be. Raising racing pigeons is a lot like tending to a garden. Just as a gardener needs to understand soil conditions, water quality, and the right nutrients for plants to thrive, we need to understand what our birds need to produce strong, fertile eggs. Poor egg quality doesn't happen overnight. It's usually the result of several factors working together, creating the perfect storm that leaves us disappointed, and our birds struggling to reproduce successfully. The first culprit we need to talk about is stress, and I can almost hear some of you saying, "But my birds look perfectly fine." Here's the thing about stress in pigeons. It's often invisible to us, but it's devastating to their reproductive system. Think about it this way. When you're going through a difficult period in your life, when you're worried about work or family, your body responds by putting non-essential functions on the back burner. Your pigeon's body does exactly the same thing. Environmental stress from overcrowding, excessive noise, predator pressure, or even changes in routine can cause their bodies to redirect energy away from reproduction. I've seen beautiful, healthy-looking birds produce thin-shelled eggs or eggs with poor fertility simply because their environment wasn't giving them the peace of mind they needed to focus on breeding. Nutritional deficiencies are another major factor, and this is where so many well-meaning breeders go wrong. We think we're feeding our birds well because they look healthy and fly strong, but reproduction demands a completely different level of nutritional support. It's like asking an athlete to run a marathon after feeding them nothing but basic maintenance calories. They might survive, but they certainly won't perform at their peak. Female pigeons preparing to lay eggs need specific building blocks for shell formation, yolk development, and embryo nutrition. When these nutrients aren't available in the right quantities and ratios, we see weak shells that crack during incubation, poor yolk quality that doesn't sustain developing chicks, and eggs that simply fail to develop at all. Age plays a role too, though it's often misunderstood. Young birds under 1 year old are still developing their own bodies and often aren't physiologically ready to channel energy into high-quality egg production. On the other end of the spectrum, older birds may have accumulated nutritional deficits over years of racing and breeding, making it harder for them to produce the nutrient-dense eggs that successful hatching requires. But here's what's encouraging. With the right natural support, I've seen birds well into their golden years produce some of their best offspring. Seasonal timing is something that's become increasingly problematic as our climate patterns shift. Pigeons are incredibly sensitive to photoperiod and temperature changes, and when we try to breed them out of their natural rhythm, or when unusual weather patterns disrupt their biological clock, egg quality suffers. I've noticed this more and more in recent years. Birds that would normally come into breeding condition naturally now need extra support to align their reproductive systems with our breeding schedules. Now here's where the magic of natural herbs and nutrition comes into play, and I want you to lean in close because what I'm about to share has transformed breeding programs around the world. Nature has provided us with an incredible pharmacy of plants that have been supporting animal reproduction for thousands of years. These aren't trendy supplements or marketing gimmicks. These are time-tested allies that work with your bird's natural biology to optimize their reproductive health. Let's start with red clover, a humble plant that grows in fields everywhere, but holds remarkable power for improving fertility. Red clover is nature's hormone balancer, rich in compounds called isoflavones that help regulate reproductive cycles in female birds. When I first started using red clover seed in my breeding diet, I was amazed at how it seemed to synchronize my pairs. Birds that had been laying sporadically suddenly became more regular, and the quality of their eggs improved dramatically. I like to think of red clover as nature's conductor, helping orchestrate the complex hormonal symphony that leads to successful reproduction. The way I use red clover is simple but effective. During the month leading up to breeding season, I add a small pinch of red clover seed to each bird's daily ration. You can find these seeds at most health food stores or order them online. Just make sure they're organic and free from pesticides. The birds seem to instinctively know these seeds are good for them, and I've never had a bird refuse to eat them when mixed with their regular seed. Raspberry leaf is another incredible ally that deserves a place in every serious breeder's toolkit. This herb has been called the woman's herb in human herbalism because of its profound effects on reproductive health, and it works just as beautifully for our feathered friends. Raspberry leaf strengthens the reproductive system, tones the muscles involved in egg laying, and provides essential minerals that go directly into egg production. I've seen dramatic improvements in shell quality and thickness when birds receive raspberry leaf support during their breeding preparation. What I love about raspberry leaf is how gentle yet effective it is. You can brew it as a tea and offer it as drinking water, or you can sprinkle dried, powdered raspberry leaf over their food. I prefer the tea method because it ensures they're getting adequate hydration along with the herb's benefits. The aroma seems to be appealing to pigeons, and I've noticed that birds on raspberry leaf tea tend to drink more water overall, which is crucial for proper egg formation. Nettle is a powerhouse herb that I consider absolutely essential for any breeding program focused on natural methods. Don't let its stinging reputation fool you. When properly prepared, nettle is one of the most nourishing plants on Earth. It's packed with iron, calcium, magnesium, and vitamins that directly support egg quality. Think of nettle as nature's prenatal vitamin, providing dense nutrition that helps female birds build strong eggs and maintain their own health throughout the demanding breeding process. I harvest nettle myself when possible, wearing gloves of course, and dry it for year-round use. If you can't harvest your own, dried nettle is readily available from herb suppliers. I add powdered nettle to a breeding mash that I offer 3 times a week during breeding season, and the results speak for themselves. Birds receiving nettle support consistently produce eggs with rich, orange yolks and thick, strong shells that protect developing chicks beautifully. Chamomile might surprise you as a breeding herb, but its calming properties make it invaluable for creating the peaceful mental state that optimal reproduction requires. Remember what we talked about regarding stress and its impact on egg quality. Chamomile is like a gentle hug for your bird's nervous systems, helping them relax into their natural breeding rhythms. I've used chamomile tea in the drinking water for anxious or high-strung birds, and the transformation is often remarkable. Birds that were previously too stressed to settle on their eggs become devoted parents, and pairs that had fertility issues often show improvement when their stress levels decrease. The beauty of chamomile is that it's incredibly safe and mild. You can offer it as a tea in their drinking water or sprinkle dried chamomile flowers over their food. Many birds seem to enjoy the mild, sweet flavor, and I've never seen any negative effects from its use. It's particularly valuable for first-time breeding pairs who might be nervous about the whole process. Now let's talk about seeds that can revolutionize your breeding program. Flax seeds, also called linseed, are probably the most important addition you can make to a breeding diet. These tiny seeds are packed with omega-3 fatty acids that are absolutely crucial for proper brain and nervous system development in chicks. But here's what many breeders don't realize. These same fatty acids are essential for the female bird to produce high-quality eggs in the first place. When a female pigeon doesn't have adequate omega-3 fatty acids in her system, her eggs may look normal on the outside, but lack the nutritional density needed for proper chick development. I've seen this countless times. Eggs that start developing, but then stop around day 10 or 12 of incubation. The embryo simply runs out of the nutrients it needs to continue growing. Flax seeds prevent this heartbreak by ensuring that every egg is packed with the building blocks for healthy development. I soak flax seeds overnight before offering them, which makes them easier to digest and increases the availability of their nutrients. A teaspoon of soaked flax seeds per bird, offered 3 times a week during breeding season, has dramatically improved my hatch rates and chick vigor. Sunflower seeds might seem ordinary, but they're extraordinary when it comes to supporting reproduction. They're rich in vitamin E, which is essential for fertility in both male and female birds. Vitamin E protects the reproductive cells from damage and supports proper hormone production. I've noticed that pairs receiving adequate sunflower seeds in their diet tend to have better fertility rates and stronger chicks. The key with sunflower seeds is to offer them in moderation. They're high in fat, which is good for breeding birds, but can lead to obesity if overdone. I include them as about 10% of the total seed mix during breeding season, and I prefer the smaller, black oil sunflower seeds over the larger striped varieties because they have a better nutritional profile. Pumpkin seeds are another treasure for breeding programs. They're rich in zinc, which is crucial for proper reproductive function and immune system support. Zinc deficiency can lead to poor egg quality and increased susceptibility to infections during the stressful breeding period. Pumpkin seeds also provide healthy fats and protein that support overall condition. I offer pumpkin seeds as a special treat during breeding season, maybe a few seeds per bird twice a week. Birds seem to really enjoy them, and I've noticed that breeding pairs receiving pumpkin seeds tend to maintain better condition throughout the demanding breeding and feeding process. Now let's talk about how to put all of this together into a comprehensive nutritional program that will transform your breeding results. Think of your bird's nutrition like a symphony. Every instrument needs to play its part at the right time and in the right proportion for the music to be beautiful. The same is true for breeding nutrition. Protein is the foundation of everything we're trying to accomplish. Without adequate high-quality protein, your birds simply cannot produce the complex proteins needed for egg formation and chick development. During breeding season, I increase the protein content of my bird's diet to around 18 to 20% compared to the 14 to 16% they receive during racing season. This extra protein comes from increased proportions of peas, beans, and safflower seeds in their mix. But here's what's crucial. It's not just about the amount of protein, it's about the quality and variety. Different protein sources provide different amino acid profiles, and your birds need the full spectrum to build perfect eggs. I like to think of amino acids as the letters of the alphabet. You need all of them to write a beautiful story, and your birds need all of them to create healthy chicks. Calcium is obviously critical for shell formation, but many breeders make the mistake of only focusing on calcium during the laying period. The truth is, female birds need to build up their calcium reserves weeks before they actually start laying. I provide a high-quality calcium supplement year-round, but I increase the amount during the month leading up to breeding season. Crushed oyster shell is my preferred source because it provides calcium in a form that's easy for birds to regulate. They'll take what they need and leave the rest. But calcium can't work alone. It needs partners to be effective. Vitamin D3 is essential for calcium absorption, which is why natural sunlight or full-spectrum lighting is so important for breeding birds. Magnesium works with calcium for proper muscle function, including the muscles involved in egg laying. Phosphorus needs to be in the right ratio with calcium for optimal bone and shell development. This is why I prefer to feed a complete, balanced diet rather than just adding isolated supplements. The timing of nutritional support is just as important as the nutrients themselves. I start preparing my birds for breeding season a full 6 weeks before I want them to lay their first eggs. This gives their bodies time to build up nutrient reserves and adjust their metabolism for the demanding work ahead. During this preparation period, I gradually increase the density and variety of their diet, introduce the breeding herbs we discussed, and make sure they're getting optimal amounts of fresh air and natural light. 3 weeks before breeding, I introduce what I call my Fertility Boost, a special soft food that I offer 3 times a week. This is where I include most of the soaked seeds, powdered herbs, and extra nutrients that will directly support egg quality. The recipe varies slightly depending on what's available, but it typically includes soaked flax seeds, chopped hard-boiled eggs, grated carrots, sprouted seeds, and a mixture of the powdered herbs we discussed. The birds absolutely love this Fertility Boost mixture, and I've noticed that pairs who receive it consistently lay eggs with noticeably thicker shells and richer yolks. More importantly, the chicks that hatch from these eggs are stronger, more vigorous, and grow faster than chicks from parents who didn't receive this extra support. During the actual laying and incubation period, I continue to offer high-quality nutrition, but I'm careful not to make sudden changes that might upset the bird's routine. Consistency is key during this sensitive time. I make sure fresh water is always available, especially if I'm adding herbal teas to their drinking water. I've learned that breeding birds drink significantly more water than birds during other periods, and dehydration can quickly lead to problems with egg development and chick health. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates the power of these natural methods. A few years ago, I had a pair of birds with incredible bloodlines but terrible reproductive performance. The female had laid eggs for 3 consecutive seasons, but the hatch rate was less than 30%, and the few chicks that did hatch were weak and slow to develop. I was ready to retire them from breeding when I decided to try a comprehensive natural approach as one last attempt. I started 6 weeks before breeding season with daily raspberry leaf tea in their drinking water and a small amount of red clover seed mixed into their food. I added nettle powder to their soft food twice a week and made sure they were getting plenty of natural sunlight. 3 weeks before I wanted them to start laying, I introduced the Fertility Boost mixture with soaked flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, and all the nutritional extras we've discussed. The transformation was remarkable. Not only did this pair produce 4 strong, healthy chicks that season, but the female's overall condition was better than I'd ever seen it. She maintained her weight throughout the breeding process, her feather quality improved, and she showed none of the exhaustion that had plagued her in previous years. That experience convinced me completely of the power of working with nature rather than against it. What I love most about these natural methods is how they support the whole bird, not just the reproductive system. Birds receiving herbs and optimal nutrition during breeding season often show improvements in feather quality, immune function, and overall vitality that last long beyond the breeding period. It's as if we're helping them achieve their full genetic potential rather than just pushing them to perform. The key to success with natural methods is consistency and patience. These aren't quick fixes that work overnight. They're fundamental improvements to your bird's health that build over time. Start slowly, pay attention to how your birds respond, and adjust based on what you observe. Every loft is different, every group of birds has unique needs, and part of the art of breeding is learning to read your birds and respond to what they're telling you. I also want to emphasize the importance of keeping detailed records. When you start implementing these natural methods, keep track of what you're feeding, when you're feeding it, and how your birds respond. Note changes in behavior, egg quality, hatch rates, and chick development. Over time, you'll develop a clear picture of what works best for your particular birds in your particular environment. Don't be discouraged if you don't see dramatic changes immediately. Remember, you're working with natural processes that operate on biological timelines, not calendar timelines. Some birds will respond quickly to improve nutrition and herbal support, while others may take a full season or even longer to show their best results. Trust the process, stay consistent, and keep your focus on long-term improvement rather than short-term results. One of the most rewarding aspects of using natural methods is how it deepens your connection with your birds and your understanding of their needs. When you're soaking seeds, brewing herbal teas, and preparing special soft foods, you're not just going through the motions of feeding, you're actively participating in your bird's health and success. This attention and care seems to be appreciated by the birds themselves, and I've noticed that birds who receive this kind of thoughtful care often develop stronger bonds with their caregivers and show less stress during handling and management. As we wrap up our discussion today, I want you to feel excited about the possibilities that lie ahead. Every successful breeder started exactly where you are right now, with a desire to help their birds reach their full potential and the willingness to learn and try new approaches. The natural methods we've discussed today aren't just theoretical concepts, they're practical tools that you can start implementing immediately to see real improvements in your breeding program. Remember that breeding season doesn't have to be a time of anxiety and disappointment. With proper preparation, natural support, and patience, it can be the most rewarding time of the year. A time when you see the direct results of your care and dedication in the form of strong, healthy chicks that represent the future of your breeding program. I encourage you to start small, perhaps with just 1 or 2 herbs or nutritional improvements, and build your program gradually as you gain experience and confidence. Pay attention to your birds, keep good records, and don't be afraid to adjust your approach based on what you observe. The beauty of natural methods is that they're forgiving and safe. You're unlikely to cause harm even if you make mistakes along the way. If you found this information helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us continue creating content that serves the pigeon breeding community, and it lets us know that these topics are valuable to you. I'd love to hear about your experiences with natural breeding methods in the comments below. Whether you're just getting started or you've been using herbs and natural nutrition for years, your insights and questions help create a richer discussion that benefits everyone in our community. Share your success stories, ask questions about specific challenges you're facing, and let us know what topics you'd like us to cover in future videos. This channel exists to serve you and help you achieve your breeding goals, so your feedback and engagement are incredibly valuable to us. Until next time, keep watching over your birds with the love and dedication that makes this hobby so special. Remember that every expert was once a beginner, every champion bird came from someone who cared enough to do their best, and every successful breeding season starts with the decision to give your birds the support they need to thrive. Here's to healthy eggs, strong chicks, and the incredible journey of raising racing pigeons naturally.